Let's start with one of my favorite topics, electrolytes, the hidden fuel. You're trying to do the right thing, so you start drinking more water. You carry the bottle around, you remind yourself all day. Maybe you might hit one of those goals of hitting a gallon or 80 ounces or finishing my Stanley. And yet, somehow, you still feel tired. Maybe a little lightheaded when you stand up. Maybe your workouts still feel flat. You're getting headaches. Your cravings really haven't changed. Or by afternoon, you just feel off. That's the part that confuses people because on paper, you're doing everything everyone else is saying. Drink more water. So why do you feel like it doesn't work? What most people are never told is that hydration is not just about water. It's about balance. And that balance depends heavily on something called electrolytes. Electrolytes are the minerals in your body that carry electrical charge. It sounds technical, but the way to think about it is simple. These are elements that help your body actually use the water you drink. They help control fluid balance, muscle function, nerve signals, blood pressure, and even how your brain feels. The main one people know about are sodium, potassium, and magnesium. If you're drinking a lot of water but not getting enough of these minerals, your body can actually feel worse, not better. You're diluting your system instead of supporting it. Think about it this way: water is the vehicle, but electrolytes are what guide where that water goes and how it works. Without them, the system doesn't run smoothly. Sodium gets a bad reputation, but it's one of the most important electrolytes for fluid balance. It keeps water in the right places in your body, especially in the blood and around your cells. If your sodium drops too low, people can feel weak, foggy, dizzy, or just not right. This is why some people who suddenly increase their water intake without adjusting anything else actually feel worse. And you'll hear a lot of doctors or providers or nutritionists or whoever it be say cut out all this sodium, but those are for like high sodium fat content containing items. And that does not apply to every single person. Water does not absorb well without a decent amount of sodium. So if you cut out all the sodium from your food, you're not going to retain as much fluids. Our water is all filtered in America, so it doesn't have minerals that allow natural absorption. Potassium works closely with sodium, helping regulate fluid inside cells, supports muscle contractions, and play a role in heart rhythm. It's found in foods like bananas, potatoes, beans, yogurt, and leafy greens. When potassium is off, people may feel fatigued, crampy, or low energy in a way that doesn't really quite make sense. Magnesium is another quiet one that shows up everywhere in the body. It helps with muscle relaxation, sleep quality, stress response, and nerve function. A lot of people are lower in magnesium than they realize, especially if their diet is inconsistent, they're under a significant amount of stress, or they rely on processed foods. Now let's connect this back to real life, because this is where people start recognizing themselves. If you wake up, drink coffee, rush through the morning, barely ate, and then catch up with water later, your body is already playing behind. If you sweat during workouts or even just through a busy day and don't replace electrolytes, that adds another layer of being behind. If you're eating mostly processed foods or skipping meals, your electrolyte intake may be lower than you think. If you're under stress, your body's demand for these minerals actually goes up. So now you have this situation where someone is drinking more water, but the system around that water isn't supported. That's when you hear people say things like, I'm drinking all this water and I still feel dehydrated, or I feel worse when I drink more. That's usually not about water itself, it's about what's missing around it. You do not need to overcomplicate this. You do not need to start measuring every milligram or buying 10 different supplements. Most of the time, improving electrolytes come back to few basic patterns. First, real food naturally contains electrolytes. When meals are skipped or inconsistent, intake drops without people realizing it. Second, adding a little more sodium in the right context can actually help. That might be salting your food to taste, especially if you're active, sweating, or drinking more water than usual. Someone eating mostly processed food with high sodium is different from someone eating mostly whole foods and feeling low energy. like I mentioned before. Third, potassium rich foods go a long way. Things like beans, lentils, potatoes, fruit, yogurt, and vegetables support that balance without needing anything fancy. Fourth, magnesium can be supported through foods like nuts, seeds, whole grains, and leafy greens. Some people also benefit from supplementation, especially for sleep or muscle tension. But that's something to approach calmly, not aggressively, with all things. Now let's talk about electrolyte drinks, because this is where people get pulled in different directions. There are products like LMNT, which I use personally, Liquid IV, and others that are designed to replace electrolytes quickly. These can be useful in certain situations. If someone is sweating heavily, exercising intensely in a hot environment, fasting, or feeling symptoms like dizziness or headaches related to low intake, these electrolytes can definitely help. They are tools, but they are not magic. They are not required for everyone. Most people living a relatively normal day, eating balanced meals and staying hydrated, can meet their needs through their foods and basic habits. The problem is when people ignore these electrolytes completely or swing to the other extreme and think that they need supplements all day long. Again, the middle ground is where things tend to work best. Another thing people don't realize is how electrolytes tie into cravings and energy. When your system is off, your body doesn't always say, I need sodium or potassium. It just says, something feels off, go get something. That can show up as cravings, fatigue, irritability, or that restless feeling where nothing quite satisfies you. So sometimes what looks like a lack of discipline is actually just a signal problem. The body is just trying to stabilize itself, but the message isn't clear. This also connects to what we talked about in last episodes with macronutrients. You can have the right protein, carbs, fat, fiber on paper, but if your hydration and fluids are off, you may still feel off. Everything in the body is connected. It's not just one lever, it's a system. So, if you want a simple way to think about this without overthinking it, here's a grounded approach. Drink water consistently, not all at once. Eat real meals that include a variety of foods. Don't be afraid to salt your food, especially if you're active or sweating. Include foods rich in potassium and magnesium throughout the day. Pay attention to how you feel, not just what a rule says. If you start doing that, people start to notice something subtle but important. Energy feels steadier, headaches become less frequent, workouts feel a little better, even mood can feel more stable. Your lips are not as chapped anymore because you got the fuel to help with the dehydration. You have less constipation, not because you did something extreme, but because you finally supported your system. And that's really the theme you probably started to notice around these episodes. The body is not asking for protection, it is asking for energy and enough consistency and balance that it can stop fighting so hard to stay stable. You got to listen. You got to pay attention to every moment of your life because you live this same rhythm every single day. In the next episode, we're going to build on that idea even more because once people start understanding food and hydration, the next big question that comes up is supplements. What actually matters? What doesn't? What works? And why do so many people end up taking things that they don't even need? I'll see you in the next episode.